All right. Welcome, everybody. This is the September 14th, 2022 meeting of the WEARE Conservation Commission. I'm Andy Fulton, the chair of the commission. I've got Mike and Steve to my left, and Sherry and Mark and Ray to my right. Our seventh member, Bill Bolton, has resigned from the commission, so we are down to 6 members. If anybody knows folks who are clamoring to get onto the Conservation Commission, they should come see us, talk to me, talk to anybody, but make the interest known. So we have a vacancy for a full member. Bill did a good number of years, a lot of good work with us, for us, around us, and we very much appreciate his many contributions and expect that he'll remain interested in a great voice for conservation and WEARE. We are operating off an agenda with several items on it tonight. We have a guest who will introduce himself shortly, and we have some draft minutes to consider, some zoning planning issues, applications to consider, and some general topics, including assessment of a contract for asbestos abatement, or at least identification on the property that we bought from Mr. Barden last year. Some land stewardship issues to consider, trails discussion, Poor Farm Road adverse claim issue, budget status, and wetland-related issues potentially. Any other items of concern from the commissioners present tonight?
Excuse me, there is a message for you.
I see we
I was curious about any recreational shooting on the conservation land, or the parks. Just regular target shooting. I go to the ranges pretty frequently. I just kind of wanted to get outside when it's nice out and do something outside, and I wanted permission from you guys.
Is there a particular spot or location that you're interested in?
Not really. I've grown up in WEARE. I've lived in WEARE my whole life, so it's just kind of want to stay in WEARE.
Yeah. I do not. I know we do certainly have some shooting on town conservation lands for the hunting seasons.
Yeah, for hunting.
Beyond that, I am not aware of anybody requesting this permission, so we're kind of on new ground.
Yep.
And I'm curious whether you've spoken with anybody else, any other advisory groups or boards or commissions within the town on your interest?
I have not. I've talked to the police to ask if there was anything, and they said no. So I was like, guess the next step would be you guys.
The police said they didn't have a place for you to shoot?
Yeah, they said no. I asked if there was any ranges or any open areas that were allowed for any recreational shootings, and they said no. That it was just private land.
But you're talking target practice, kind of?
Yep.
What about at your own home?
I live in an apartment in the center of town, so I don't have an area.
And your folks not in town now?
My folks live on Bartlett, up by Mountain Road, and they don't really prefer any shooting on their property. They kind of live in a more residential area, and I don't want to annoy the neighbors.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say, Tucker, thanks for coming in and asking this. It's a good topic to bring up. My main thoughts on this would be having some liability issues for the town.
Yep.
You know, just in case something went wrong.
Yeah.
So I would recommend that you first check in with the select board, the selectmen.
Okay.
And see where they stand on shooting on town property.
Okay.
If they through discussion, gave you the okay for that, then I think the Conservation Commission could then proceed with,
Finding an area.
finding a location, discussing whether we think that's something we want to have happening on conservation land, things like that.
Okay. That's awesome.
We just kind of opened up for discussion? or-
Yeah, please, I'm sorry, strike the formality, just feel free, commissioners, to jump in and question and discuss.
Yes, I mean, I think it's kind of a more complicated issue than kind of, even that, Mike. So at one time, and I'm not sure what happened, the police were using part of the transfer station, allowing people to shoot. And to me, as far as town land, that's the most sensible area, because there's already a lot of disturbance. We've got a huge variety of restrictions, just it's property by property, without even thinking about disturbance to neighbors and that sort of thing. So without any real specifics, I would really encourage you to ask the selectmen what happened to that, being allowed in the transfer station itself. And I think the police department was running it, if I remember it right, but I don't know how it fizzled out. It was probably a good 10 years ago, yeah.
Just when I was a kid.
Yeah, so, I've seen some problems in the past. I remember on a walk on Felch, actually, there was a bunch of debris from someone, shooting, and so unfortunately, it just kind of opened it up, I think, to shooting or even developing a range on conservation land. I think it kind of runs counter to land management. It's totally different hunting versus recreational target shooting, because I don't think it's just you. I think if it happened, there'd be a lot of people kind of looking to use it, so. Personally, I'm a sportsman and shoot totally against it on town land. I think, transfer station doesn't bother me a bit, but
Yeah.
on conservation, I'm gonna be a no forever on that.
I don't even believe that the police department shoots at they use the Goffstown Fish and Game,
Do they know?
yeah. Because the sheriffs used to shoot there as well and everything, they shoot at the Goffstown Fish and Game, Sept safety range.
Yeah. I think that was an insurance issue, or what
I
shut that
think
down?
that's what it turned out to be.
Yeah. Yeah, there's even, I belong to one of the, I don't wanna throw out which fish and game organization I belong to, but lead ends up even being a concern.
Yeah.
Yep.
It would be referred to the Board of Selectmen before going any further.
I think we would be a lot smarter to, if there was a specific thing and, ask, I think we're unfamiliar with what the law is, what our abilities to say yes or no. And then, like I said, these properties, some of our properties are just outright fee owned by the town and have zero restrictions. But some of the properties have easement holders and
Yeah.
those kinds of, sort of backup where you just couldn't do this anyhow, like Eastman. I don't think you could do it on Eastman. So
Well, it would actually have to have some type of a fenced-in area or something where people can't just be walking through the woods out behind you where you're shooting, because it'd be a big liability.
Well, it is for the shooter. New Hampshire law, I think, is kind of fuzzy on this for some reason, if I remember reading something about it. But if we were to endorse or give permission for something, I think we really need counsel and need specifics on where, and, but I don't know where to go with it, but that's just kind of my thoughts on it.
Well, I guess as our role is both stewardship on the land and advisory to other boards and panels and commissions, I, without knowing, wouldn't myself, speaking for me personally, not for the commission, be dead set against it. I wouldn't. I don't know enough. I don't have the enough understanding of the law, nor would I want to, step on, other folks' toes as to who would be at play with this. I think Steve mentioned legal counsel would be something that we would need to engage. I think, and, we're kind of working on a void here without a lot of experience, but I think deferring to the Board of Selectmen is sensible.
Okay.
As they would, I suspect on such a request, prefer at least awareness, if not a substantial role in crafting any sort of land use agreement.
Okay.
It's interesting, the similarities and distinctions with hunting. We appreciate it when folks interested in hunting conservation lands speak with us.
Okay.
And some of them even gain permission.
Okay.
We know many don't.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a little different thoughts that people can have as to the ethos and what landowner permission is. Is there specific permission needed on public lands? So, there's a pretty wide swath of potential ways things could go. And would seem like a good idea to try to talk with the folks who represent the town interests on town lands.
Okay.
I would think if the Board of Selectmen said, a conditional yes, can the Conservation Commission come up with a place where it might be more appropriate on conservation lands? We would consider it. If they certainly said, absolutely, we checked with town council and we can't make any such agreement, then it's sort of the end of the road on the inquiry. So we can't give you that firm answer,
Yeah,
certainly not tonight.
Yeah. that's fair.
But, in a general sense, safe shooting is a pretty important skill, and it has certain requirements, certain expectations on how to do it, and talking
Yeah.
with us is absolutely preferred.
Yeah, I've taken the hunter safety courses when I was 15.
Yep.
I've taken a couple handgun courses because I conceal carry every now and again.
Mhm.
So just to be safe, I've taken the courses, I've taken the steps.
That's a great idea,
Yeah,
and you'd find, I think, broadly speaking, within our commission, plenty of support on those sort of endeavors.
Yeah,
Not something that we're gonna take a stand contrary to those sort of interests and skill building exercises, so. I would say,
next step, Board of
next step,
Selectmen.
Board of Selectmen, and I think you would hear that, there certainly would be if there was any inclination to work with you on it, you'd need to craft a narrower request and not a carte blanche or a broad,
Okay,
anywhere on town property goes.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
so think about, if there is a narrower request, that might help you
Okay,
as to a location, and then all the things that go into it. You might find that it gets to be a bit of a thorny subject, but it's
Yep.
not a bad exercise in, civil discourse to have that discussion.
Yep.
We still have some room in our town to accommodate lots of different interests, and understand that safe shooting sports can be part of a mix of land uses, maybe more challenging than some others, but with any endeavor, responsible undertaking is key to making it work, so.
Yep.
thank you for doing a responsible thing and talking with us
Yeah.
and not assuming. Go ahead, Steve.
I don't agree with your approach, Andy. I think that we're the land managers, that we should research the issue with council and invite Mr. Cram back to the next meeting before pushing on the Board of Selectmen, because you better watch what you ask for. I mean, we were ticked off about Board of Selectmen signing, bear permits. That should be us. We're the managers. We should recommend to them, but I mean, I think we should learn about this and understand it and then make a recommendation one way or the other, or take an up or down vote on what we're doing and not just push it off on the Board of Selectmen. I think you're really asking for it if you do that. You might end up with something you really didn't want.
I don't go into this with any wants. So I don't know, I mean, you allude to some things, Steve, but I don't know.
I mean, you'll end up with a rifle range on conservation land without, essentially having discussed it or agreed with it or anything.
Okay, you stated your concern on that regard.
I'm just saying, don't push it off to the Board of Selectmen without doing some due diligence and making a recommendation.
Other thoughts from the commissioners on the matter?
I don't have any thoughts about it. I can go either way with it, but I don't want to, the liability issue is big to me.
That's what I'm
Same with me.
Not, and we shoot on our own land, so it's not like we're against any of this. We have our own guns and we shoot all the time on our own land. But you have to be very safe. We have a big embankment,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Backstop and
if there was a stray bullet, we'd have to be aiming in the sky to hit anything, but
Yeah.
a lot of people can use the conservation land, and it might upset someone if somebody is shooting on it. Just because they're afraid to get hit, or if their dogs get loose and they don't know what's going on there. But I don't know what the legality is.
Yeah.
I don't have any idea if it's allowable or not, and I wouldn't want to say. So I don't really have an opinion. I don't know what to do.
Naomi, would the town council have a, comment on letting people shoot on conservation property?
That would be my thing, is the liability to the town if something were to happen. And
Somebody
if you
shot.
don't have a range and have range procedures and safety,
Yeah.
we're open up to a huge liability.
Because they put flags up when you're shooting, flags
Well,
down.
that's
Could have
what
a range
what I'm
officer and-
thinking is, in this day and age of litigation, it would be very easy for someone to say, you gave everyone permission.
And
So essentially, we're running a gun range at that point.
But it comes down to is, we don't have a place that we can even talk about. There's not a particular place, it's not a sand pit, it's not a, so it's to shoot, say, can you shoot on conservation land, that's a broad statement. We need to be a focused, there's a specific area that you were talking about, we can look into it. Is it legal to do that, or, and what's the liability to the town if we did allow that? So, that would be my thing. Right now, it's just too broad of, to even discuss.
We should look for an attorney to be on our board. That would help
All
us a
right,
lot.
Tucker, this is where you have options.
Okay.
And it would seem like one of those options would be to narrow the scope of your interest.
Okay.
We can ask town council to weigh in on a generic, which has some value, we could ask you to come back with specifics, but I see you're at the front of something and,
Yep,
you know, do you want to spend a lot of effort and time to
I mean-
come up with a plan when
yep,
your rate, your ability to know whether that investment is gonna pay off is pretty low?
yep. Yeah, I can always come back next month, do
You
some homework over the time and,
certainly have the
Back next
option to, you know, speak to, or try to get before the Board of Selectmen to ask questions of our Select Board. That's, you know, certainly not our place to stand in the way of that. We don't have information enough to make a recommendation at this point. And there has been, as Vice Chair Nager pointed out, there's been some times where we haven't seen eye to eye with a Board of Selectmen on a particular
yep,
land use issue. And I would be a little bit hesitant to guess where this might go.
okay,
So your options, I guess, as I see it, is one is say, would you check with town council?
Okay.
And I can come back and discuss with you next month.
okay,
That would be one option. Another option would be say, you know what, I've heard enough from you that guessing I need to speak with the, you know, the elected officials on the Board of Selectmen, so I'm gonna spend my time dealing with them.
okay.
Sort of kicking your request back to that. Would you like to pursue this further with the Conservation Commission?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. I can always go do some research and find some stuff out, do more on my part, yeah, I'm okay with that.
All right, then we can consider, actually, I will,
Is there some information on the state level that he could research? Maybe give us a little guidance on all of this? There must be other towns that run into this same request.
That's why we need to ask council
Yep.
on what the laws actually are.
I think Deering has a place in Deering where they shoot up there, but
I don't know.
I think that's a club that runs that.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think a lot of times it's managed by some sort of a club, so they can have safety protocols and
Right.
people know to stay away from those areas.
Right.
Every time you know there's a gun club nearby, you're obviously not gonna walk in, there's signs everywhere that say,
Yeah.
so, this here, there wouldn't be.
Right.
So, you know, people would be very hesitant to go for a walk on the conservation land if they know that,
People are out there shooting.
you know, and we're not against guns or anything, we-
Yeah,
we have
yeah, I understand.
our own, but I'm just looking at the whole liability and, you know, concerns of other people that don't participate in that activity.
Yeah, the only thing I know, is most national parks allow range shooting. Usually, you know, it's like 150 yards from any building or and like a certain amount from any trail, and then you can't shoot over water and you need to have a backstop.
You mean
If you
national
could
forest?
get some of that
Yeah,
stuff,
national forest, yeah.
you know, if you could get some of that stuff, have that, you know, that's a plus. And we can do some homework on our part to
Yep.
brush up on what it is.
Yep,
But a location too would be, that you were thinking of,
more specific.
because then we can, because like Steve said, there's certain lands that can't happen.
Yep,
Others possibly could, but,
Yep.
we need to know what you're talking about to see if it's even possible.
okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't bother with Eastman, because it has, I mean, you can read the deed restriction, I mean, the easement on it, but
Yep,
I don't think you're
No.
gonna develop anything in Eastman.
all it's all available online, right?
Or the registry of deeds, you'd
Okay,
have to look property
registry.
by property.
Okay, yeah,
Most of them don't, I mean, many of the bigger town forests don't have easements on them, but Eastman, I'm just telling you, specifically does.
okay,
It's the one that's about 600 acres.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Naomi, what do you need from us for a request of town council? Do you want a motion?
Ask her about shooting in general on town property?
No, shooting
No.
range, I mean,
Yeah.
recreational
Recreational
shooting, not
target
hunting.
shooting.
Yeah,
Target shooting.
yeah.
Yeah, not hunting.
So, essentially there's a request for permission to recreationally
Target shoot.
target shoot on town land, and we're just wanna know what the legal background is and liability.
And probably what the repercussions would be to the board if something happened, if you granted permission and something happened.
I'm gonna retire.
Probably have to do it two ways, you probably have to reach out to our insurance company as well.
Yeah.
Is that,
I'll pose the question and then I'll also pose it to Primex, which is our insurance company.
and is there a way to share this question with the Board of Selectmen so they know that it's being asked? So we're not
CC them, sure.
not working in a vacuum here.
Naomi, do you know the history of the transfer station, why that got shut down, or?
Because the insurance company said it wasn't safe.
Because that's actually in the middle of the town forest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
yeah.
So that, might be some good background.
There's an effort being put forth to just allow the PD to do their certifications.
In there, yeah.
We haven't approved anything or done anything yet. That movement's moving.
Okay, Tucker, we've got some work we're gonna do on our end.
Okay.
You've got something you can think about,
Yep.
you can research, you can consider. We'll have you on the agenda for next month.
Awesome.
Again, the second Wednesday of, dare I say, November?
October.
Oh, see, there I go, October. Now, racing on to fall.
Miss October, it's the best
Guys,
month of the
jump right
year.
over October.
12,
October 12th.
October 12. If you find something, Tucker, that you'd like them to read or share with them,
Okay.
if you send it to me, I can get it to them.
Okay. Yep.
My email's on the website.
Yeah.
You know that was right.
Yeah.
It
Thank
just
you.
makes life a lot easier versus bringing it in that night for them to read.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay,
Give them a heads up.
Mm,
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Tucker.
Yep, thank you guys.
thanks, Tucker.
Have a good night.
Good one.
Yeah, you too. You don't have June 8th or June 11th, but June 8th or July 13th.
See, I missed you there too.
I didn't get it out to you. But you do have June 11th. I think you had them last time, didn't you? Those are the ones Mike did.
I don't have it with me, I don't think.
You can table them, that's fine. We'll do them when we're done.
Okay, we'll do it all next month. We'll table it.
Now, and the other thing, Andy, the two plans I sent you guys a long time ago,
Yeah.
in 11 by 17s,
Mm.
you guys got them, it would have been to discuss in August, and we didn't have a meeting.
Yeah.
They're continued to
To the 22nd, okay.
22nd.
Both of them, yeah.
My guess is it's probably even gonna go into October.
So when did you email those out?
Would have been the end of July, probably.
You emailed them, right?
I emailed them
Yeah.
all, yeah. Because I did them in PDF and emailed them to you guys, so you had them ahead of time. Because both of them have quite a bit of width.
Yes. And the
Do we have-
driveway goes through.
Do we have paper copies anywhere in the building?
I got one set of small ones, that's all I got. I don't
That's,
have the big ones.
did you grab 'em, Ray?
Um,
That's better than nothing at this point.
I got
Yeah.
I remember reviewing them months ago, but
Yeah.
no idea what
It
if
would
I
have
had
been the end
thoughts
of
on it.
July.
I got it. I got one of them, I think.
Yeah, I got it too.
I thought I sent them all together, maybe not.
Yeah, you did.
And then at the Randy Dearborn's, and Randy's has already been done.
Yeah,
Big load of, is that wetlands there?
Well, there's a lot there.
This is the one that, is this the driveway?
This is the first one for
Yeah.
this one, and this one is,
The one on
Second one.
Reservoir
so this is the one,
Drive is a large.
Corridor, right?
yeah, they wanna do 3 lots on this one,
Yeah,
2
this is-
lots on that one.
This is the one that has a driveway going through with all the wetlands in here, right? This is wetlands,
Yeah,
and those are the buffers, and you gotta put the
Reservoir Drive.
driveway right through it.
it's right off Craney Hill.
Yeah,
it's Reservoir Drive, yeah, it comes out on Crane Hill.
Well, it doesn't go through it. It does there, has
Yeah.
to, but they probably get a
And then
permit for
right on
that.
the-
But they're not in the wetland there, so they might be within the buffer, but I don't know, is there a rule on driveways, buffers, or just buildings?
Yeah,
Yeah, the buffer
Everything.
applies.
yeah.
Just class 5 roads are exempt, class 5 or higher.
Well, we just have to look at the scale and see if it's,
Which one are you looking at?
one for Hickey and one for Coronado.
Yeah, Coronado, but
Corrado.
Coronado's got a bunch of wetlands on it, right? Is that the one?
So does Sticky's is more.
yeah, there's a lot on that one.
Oh, they both do?
Mm.
Now, a question, and it says, you know, Michael Lambert, certified wetland scientist, but there's no stamp.
Oh, it's gonna be difficult, Mr. Lambert's dead.
What?
Mr. Lambert passed away,
Oh, he did?
that's why we got kind of a problem.
Oh,
We'd have to have a seance.
No, I'm just saying that, and they know that because he did the initial work, and the
Yeah.
plans didn't get stamped, so someone else has gotta,
No,
it was
sorry,
unexpected in May.
yeah, sorry to hear that. He was a pretty vigorous guy, that's for sure.
so,
You did?
but now that's not certified because it's not stamped.
There's someone else looking at the
There's
work
somebody
that's
else.
Okay.
verified.
So why do we wanna take time tonight if we don't have anything that's certified to look at?
Well, you can see what suggestions you might wanna make, and they can do it one time. Like, looking at this one here for Corrado, there's wetlands on it, but where the building sites and the well sites and everything are, it's away from it.
Well, that one, what radius is in the
Andy, to save you
setbacks?
some time,
Yeah, but it's a well radius.
you guys can look at, I can resend them, you guys can look at them again for October.
Mm-hmm,
It's not, they're not gonna be approved.
no.
We're still waiting on state subdivision approval.
A well radius just makes sure it doesn't go on someone else's property, and it doesn't.
I got a quick question. How can you have a proposed driveway easement? I thought you can't create, thought you have to have a driveway on class 5 now.
They've done some easements.
Have they let them? I don't think you could. Huh.
Yeah, and this hasn't, we haven't, the planning board hasn't even looked at this. We've been over and the owner didn't show up last week when we went in. So,
All right,
we've gotta make another date to go back over. Third try.
Sorry, which one was that?
That's the one on Sugar Hill.
Sugar Hill.
Yeah, we went over and hung around for a half an hour, but nobody ever showed up.
all right, let's table those for next time.
Okay, he's gonna get tabled too, all right.
That's right.
Would you like them all resent so it's in closer to your inbox? Would that be way?
Knowing where to look, I found them, you know, so,
Okay.
but it's always a good reminder, so please, yeah, thank you. All right,
Are we able to get hard copies of them for the meeting though?
Do you
for,
want the large ones or small ones?
I don't like the large ones myself, but
I mean, I can make a set,
They
a
don't-
few sets, so you can share at each end of the table.
Cause you, like the ones we usually get, the big ones, I mean, I thought they were required to submit those, is
Yeah,
that,
you get one set. There's one for every department.
yeah.
So we have the ability of making a second set. If you guys, I mean, two, one at each end of the table would
Mhm.
work.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, at least one big one, but. Two's probably better.
Okay. Pass them down, pass them back. Back to Naomi's possession on those.
Are we on the docket there to talk about the lake, we got some emails about this Lakeview lots that had disturbance?
on Lakeview,
Yeah,
That's the wetlands related issues.
Okay.
that's a, well,
Yeah, number, the last one there, another.
Okay, let's slide that one in there, Mark. All right, let's jump down
Excuse
to
me, there is a message for you.
a, update or otherwise on the items we need to do to demo the buildings that we purchased from Mr. Barden last year.
Yeah, I don't have them, I don't have a contract signed. It's just been a little crazy. Sorry.
Do we have proposals in, quotes in?
We had quotes. We gave the okay.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
there was something you were gonna clarify.
$2,000.
Uh-huh,
yeah,
yep,
And then I was waiting to see how many samples you were getting for 2,000.
right.
Because if you remember, you had it up to, it was between 1,000 and 1,500,
Mm-hmm,
and then you had a 5,400. And I think the comment was made that, what are we doing for 5,400? How many samples and what you were doing for $1,500 for
Right.
samples?
Yeah.
Because the age of the building didn't make sense to do 100 samples.
Yeah.
right.
We talked about lead paint, we talked about,
asbestos, yeah.
Yes,
no, we talked about,
Yeah.
is it?
it's just asbestos,
PCBs.
PCBs.
yeah, that was taken care of though, wasn't, and that's the thing when they come up there and looked at the,
Because what
No,
originally
okay.
it started is I didn't realize there was a barn out back. Bill and I stopped one day and I said, what the heck is that?
Hmm.
Because the leaves were off.
Hmm.
And we walked out back and there's this big barn that's got no windows in it, they've been all smashed and it's just full of stuff.
right.
So I asked them to go back and they both went back the day of your last meeting and shot me an email. One said 54, one said 1,000, 1,500, but I have questions.
Yeah,
We haven't been able to connect on questions because I took some time off for the summer, and I just haven't had time to connect with him. We also have the other piece down Buzzell Hill that we're trying to do something with on our side. There's a abandoned house down off of Buzzell Hill by the bridge that we own, the kids have been playing, so we're trying to get that taken care of as well, but I need to know if it's asbestos before the fire department can do something with, maybe we're gonna train. So I was gonna kill two birds with one stone and get them out here all together.
mm.
So I don't have an update for you.
So we're gonna table that.
Other than that
Okay,
okay.
Nothing new is what you're saying
And I
here.
think, and I've kept the board, they know
yeah,
how overwhelmed I am, so.
Naomi, is there a time we're looking to see by next meeting?
That's my plan.
It's the plan, okay.
yeah.
I put a long whiteboard in my office,
Yes, and
longer every day,
I understand, it's just trying to figure what we got for,
and we're dropping employees every day too.
I can sympathize there.
We all can.
Staff in the building?
We lost the deputy,
Clerk,
lost the fire chief secretary, lost the librarian, lost the truck driver, lost the,
All over,
we lost the librarian?
yeah,
we lost somebody in the library.
yeah.
Crazy. Brian,
Long-standing employees stepping away, yep. All right, let's move on to land stewardship issues. This was a tickler for what specifically?
I kind of mentioned them in the email. I mean, three things really. I know we've, so I guess we had Jeremy do boundary line maintenance on, all right, I'm drawing a blank. What's the name of the development? It's on 114, almost to.
Courtney Hill there or whatever.
No, not Cortland, that's another one on the list. The one further down on the left, when you're going south.
Eleanor,
On our way,
Yeah, so we had a,
all right. all
so
right,
they,
that whole-
when that got developed, some of the monuments got wiped out in person, like had, what we found out was they had cleared some of the conservation land and they actually had an irrigation system, and they came into a meeting. It just seems like, I don't know if that ever got to resolution or not, like, they needed to really cut off their, irrigation system. They had some some kids' jungle gyms, for lack of a better term, that kind of thing, that was on town land. So I think, what I would suggest on that one is we, ask Jeremy to go see if that's been resolved or not. I'd suggest throwing like up to, I don't know, maybe $500 out of the conservation fund to cover that on the hourly, to go have him check. And then if they haven't, taken care of it, then I guess we need to get with council and deal with how to resolve that.
Right.
So that was one.
Steve, does Jeremy have any identification, like, for the town? I'm just trying to shoot it, you know what I mean? Does he have any identification that he's there for the town?
No, it's just Meadow Sun Timberlands. I mean, he'll be on town property, not on their property.
Okay. No, I thought he was gonna go ask him.
No. Just walk on town property.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what happened and we talked, remember we talked, like, we're trying to figure out what
Yeah.
kind of new, like, additional markers to show the line to stop, like, the lawn maintenance too, like
We
whether it's
talked
split
about that.
reference. None of that
We
kind
talked
of-
about, do we even have the latitude to sell a few hundred square feet, to just say, okay, you recognize that it wasn't yours, you want it to be yours, so could you, ante up something to drop into the conservation fund, and we just,
You
move
remember
the
we-
boundary, and we were told, nope, you can't
Yeah,
do
no
that
go,
because of the
yeah.
easement.
Mhm.
We had no options.
Yeah,
So-
so that just needs to,
So we were left with, you gotta get your stuff off town property.
yeah.
And we, I think, had a understanding with an owner at that point, but, next steps, I don't think we got to.
Well, who is responsible for follow-up of that? Us or code enforcement or,
No, us.
yeah?
I mean, we're the stewards of the land.
But who backs us up as far as we can say
right.
what we
We-
want, but we have
We
no
have no
authority to
authorities.
do anything? So, because technically we don't own the land, the town does, so what do we have? I don't know what the word is for authority.
Yeah, it goes to town council, board of
Yeah.
selectmen,
Yeah.
um,
And if you give them notice every year or so, and they continue this encroachment for 20 years, can they then take it by adverse possession?
I think that only happens if you don't challenge it.
If you don't say
Right,
anything,
if you don't
right?
challenge it.
But if if it's something you've worked on and made public statements, recorded, that you've identified, I think that would be a tough one to,
Yeah.
So I mean, you guys are getting an adverse possession there. So it's open, notorious, and exclusive, and you can never claim adverse possession against the sovereign, the king. We are the king, can't do it. Waste of time. So,
not that people don't waste time.
nah, I mean, it's just one of those things. Fortunately in forestry, you got a pretty good dose of, survey and survey law and that kind of thing, but, so I mean, ideally, what we would do is if they didn't do what we asked them to do, then, I think we move on to council and see how they want to approach it.
Didn't we, I thought maybe we already went there.
I don't think so. They came in here and talked to us in a meeting. We sent them a letter. They came and talked to us in a meeting. I think it was all resolved. I just don't know if it ever happened.
Well, we did talk with council about the easement, whether we had any options.
That was that other easement that you're thinking of. Remember there was some little piece of property we got that somebody wanted, and they said it had to go to something in the state if you wanted to undo it.
I thought it was one and the same,
No, I think it's a different one.
could be.
All blurs together. See, that's the problem. We're not necessarily tracking, It's hard to keep all that straight. So anyhow, that was at one of them. Ready to move on to the next one?
Yep.
One that's near and dear to my heart, drives me nuts, happened twice. I find it like completely insane to do a land transfer without monumentation being present. And I think Naomi, I know you've been busy, I don't know if you got to talk to Tebow to see what their deal was.
That's not gonna be simple, because it's my understanding, I guess I probably shouldn't say it.
And don't, please.
I'll get you an answer, but it's not gonna be what you're thinking.
So do we just go to council and say, how do we handle this? Because I think the town was moronic, accepting a property transfer with no monumentations. No monumentation at all. So now, basically you end up happening what happened up at Holly Hill. We gotta go in there and fix the problem, wasting our own money to have a surveyor put the monuments in. And it's the same thing with Cortland. So,
I can ask it if you want. There's two different, as you know, Portland and Sherry will know, we took how many months to do Hillbridge, because we wouldn't accept it. And then the monuments, we made them prove the monuments, and they were way down under somebody's lawn. So we made them show them visibly before we would even, and then we had them verified that they were all correct. And then we had the public hearing. So it was several months of all the monumentation being checked out before we would even accept the roadway.
And that's the road, and the whole problem is, I know we've had this
That's
loose
the front
tie to
side.
the road, but the road really has nothing to do with transfer of property, it was, so I would like to, if we could ask Laura, specifically, we've got problem with, two subdivisions in town that back in the day, the planning board was approving, with notation saying to be set for the monumentation, but the town very naively accepted those conservation properties with no monumentation. So I would just ask her, how do we force the developer, or do we just have to eat it and send our own surveyors out there to lay it out? We should never, ever do it,
Because
ever.
technically, at this point, they could say, no, there's no land there for you.
No, it's recorded, it's there, so, if you think about the external boundaries of the
Project.
the property that was subdivided,
Yep.
that'll have monuments, and those ones will show, but you gotta send a surveyor in to try to do the meets and bounds, or however it was described, and put the missing monuments. You're gonna pay to find out what's missing, and then put the rest of them in.
That's expensive.
Yeah, it always is. In the case of Holly Hill, it wasn't real bad, because it was a handful of them. It never got set, but these ones are really big and nasty, especially
Yeah.
Duck Pond, brutal.
Yeah, it's very irregular.
Terribly. So, are we good with that? Just send a question to council. So, for stuff like this, can we just now say it stays on the agenda until it goes away?
Yeah, that way it doesn't get
Yeah,
forgotten
it's
about.
Remembered, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
Because
the best way to do it.
6 months
Yeah.
goes by and we forget, what was that?
Administrative report until things go away.
I'd like to, I know we didn't end up with forestry on their backs, same thing, I just leave forestry on there every single month,
Yep, it's a good idea.
Yeah, so, in any event, those,
Planning board now, Steve, just
Yeah.
to let you know, and Sherry can verify that, is the to be sets
yeah,
are set.
yeah,
They're all set now.
yeah, Craig said that's fixed, yeah.
They fixed that.
Yeah, no, this is just a horror show,
Mhm.
but, yeah, in any event, we just need to, I just wanna keep these things kinda like front and center till they're resolved. I think it's important.
Third one, or is the third one included?
So Holly
No, we
Hill,
just had 'em.
Cortland Ave, was there another one?
We had two.
Yeah,
On
Cortland,
the way.
NBAC,
And Ellen Way, yeah.
Allen and Way.
Duck
Yeah.
Pond and Eleanor Way, yeah. So Eleanor Way is not a monumentation, that was already taken care of, it's a, encroachment.
It's a use.
Eleanor Way's encroachment.
Getting back to the encroachment thing, would it be, wherever there's areas on the town land where there's a possibility of an abutter encroaching on it and they're, you know,
They're
houses,
back on.
would it be something to think about to do what the state does along the highway right-of-ways and just put up a very inexpensive wire fence? That way, if somebody takes that wire fence down, they're technically trespassing.
So Ray, what we've done a heck of a lot of the last 10 years, maybe more. Remember the yellow blaze discussion though, Yomi? She's ignoring me over there. You remember that? The Board of Selectmen, about somebody was it Tom?
Eastman,
Yeah,
yes,
somebody was
our
upset.
friend Tom.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, so in any event, you know, as a large forest landowner, the real standard thing is to blaze. And that's in your face. I mean, you know if you're trespassing. I think like, you know, we've got this problem where we've got an area that was bulldozed and now it's lawn. And our discussion there, you know, it was liability discussion too, whether or not you just pounded it in like a stake with a reflector and we were worried about kids getting hurt on it or something, or a split rail fence. So we never
Boulders.
we never like finalized. I mean, boulders, yeah, would have been an easy one. Just, you know,
Some big
pretty,
rocks.
yeah.
Spray them bright yellow.
Well, they used to do like steak and stones back in the day, yeah, you know, but, so in that case, yeah, I mean, there's something that needs to go out there. What it is, we never agreed on. But most cases, we have like, you know, rock walls and blaze marks and monuments, and it's okay. I mean, that, you know, people know if they're doing something stupid.
Some people don't. A lot of people that are buying new houses out here come from places that never had to experience anything like that.
Yeah.
And they just think that, oh, it's all woods lands.
We own it.
Yeah, what's
Yeah.
the,
And
no problem.
We've had, fortunately not recently, but we've had folks who look at it and say, oh, that's a conservation easement on the back of my lot, but if I take down 20 trees back there, I get a much better view.
Yeah.
Knock them down. You know, that stuff happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good stuff for further discussion, Ray, you know, when we figure out what actually happened down there. And what you all think, you know, is appropriate to delineate.
I figured that would be the cheapest way, a metal stake with a, you know, 6x6 woven wire fence, like the state does along the state right of way.
Yeah.
And it's not in your face really, but that's the property line to conservation land. And it's no less than what a private landowner would probably do if you were encroaching on their land. I know the land we own up in Arrow has just metal markers saying that, you know, from this point back, you're on
Conservation.
National Wildlife Preserve.
Yeah, how big are they?
That's all, and it marks your boundary.
Yeah,
It's not, you just know if you're gonna go buy that stake, you're not on your land anymore.
yeah.
Where now there might be nothing indicating it, that they can see or,
We've got little signs too,
there.
nail up on trees, yeah.
Little
2x2s.
triangles, right?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, our problem here is where it got blown away completely.
Yeah.
You know, so, maybe something like you were saying, or,
Rocks is probably. the
Figuring
best
it
thing.
probably doesn't happen all over the
All over
place,
them,
but
unless
there's
they got
few
some equipment.
spots that could be protected that way.
this was in the development process when it happened.
Uh,
Things got screwed up when, you know, when they're in their heavy equipment and stuff. I think a lot of our places are not that vulnerable, really.
No.
Maybe at Duck Pond where they're still working in there a lot and gonna be building for the next couple of years, you
Well-
can ask them to put rocks in on the boundary lines.
That's wicked vulnerable, that whole thing, but it's a horror show too, because there's, they let them get away with, and it's the same thing Andy was alluding to, in the calculation for the open space, there's the fee-owned town land that they gave to us, but then individual lots, some of them have like a conservation restriction. Like, who the heck's gonna enforce that?
Yeah, it's unenforceable.
It's brutal. Who's even gonna mark it out and know where it is, you know? Absolutely absurd that ever happened.
I thought there was talk a few years ago about when you're doing a subdivision, that the land had to be fairly contiguous. It couldn't be all cut up like they had on that plan there.
Yeah, that was one of the earlier, I mean, it's still not really codified in our, subdivision regulation, I don't think.
Now, can we rotate the camera a little bit, because we don't need the podium in, so we can catch these guys, or do we just,
You're catching it.
we are?
Just
Okay.
not on the TV.
Rats.
We're not seeing it.
No, it's shown on the YouTube.
Mhm.
Oh, cool.
Small screen.
Yep. All right. We covered that one?
Yeah, I think so. So we, do we need to vote to
If we're gonna,
authorize Jeremy to, or Meadow Sun to get down there and check on that?
you're suggesting hourly up to 400?
500 you said, didn't you?
Yeah, 500 out of the hourly from conservation.
You need a motion made? Or did you just make it?
That's a
I guess that was
motion.
my motion, yeah.
I'll second it.
Where are you paying them from, Steve?
From the
Conservation
conservation
account.
fund. Yeah, it's Steve's motion, Sherry's second, for allowance of expenditure up to $500 from the conservation fund for Meadows End hourly work.
Yeah, to check, what's the name of the subdivision again?
Eleanor Way?
Eleanor Way?
Eleanor Way's a road.
Yeah.
Brookshire,
Brookshire,
yeah.
thank you, that's.
Oh,
that
it's
was-
Brookshire?
That was what the development was called, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
All right, any further discussion on that? There being none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
It's all in favor. Moving on down the agenda, Steve.
Okay, on the, we discussed, I think, having the Board of Selectmen write a letter to Steve Cogliano, because we never heard anything on the one you sent.
Yeah, and I sent it over to Laura, but I didn't get an answer back.
Okay.
Because she was gonna draft the letter, which can still happen, because we have a meeting tomorrow night, so.
Okay, well, that's a good update, and just leave it on the agenda till next month.
Yep.
Wanna let that one slide.
Which one?
I said we don't wanna let it slide.
Don't,
Poor Paul.
gotcha,
Don't,
yep.
yeah.
We jumped over the one before Poor Farm.
Oh, trails, yeah, shoot. No, no.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, I just had a thought, you know, I mean, we had this obviously kind of condition of purchase on Barden, on the trail thing, you know, we kind of made some promises to look into it, so just wanted to see if we, could have Andy email, the recreation committee and also the planning board, and maybe have a, joint meeting at some mutually agreeable time, and I guess, you know, my thought is like, we're not gonna be successful ourselves, I don't have the time. I would think it, you know, I think the direction we really ought to go is like having Southern New Hampshire look at how you connect up the conservation lands, either walking or biking or whatever, you know, and kind of, whatever other points of interest there are in parking areas and stuff like that, and just make it successful. I mean, if people wanna put that into it, I mean, if between us, the, you know, the recreation committee and planning board, I mean, if no one's interested or doesn't think it's viable, then we did what we said we were gonna do, you know?
You remember when we were over doing the site walk over at, Fell's Farm?
Yeah.
We talked about when Middleton would go in to do a cut, that they would actually make a road where they're dragging out the logs
Yep.
and connect the roads together to make a walking trail. So that might be, when they're doing stuff, we should take advantage of that, because that's kind of free to us.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think that does anything for the real big picture though, or maintenance or anything like that.
No, but anything new coming up,
Hmm, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. They're already in there. It's
in
already
there,
clear.
they-
It's a
they
skidder
could-
trail.
right, they can just make
Wouldn't take
skidding,
much to keep it maintained as a walking trail.
right.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'm thinking like way bigger scale though, I mean, as far as, even, getting with, snowmobile club should be roped in on this and
Yeah.
just to kind of keep all this, whatever we want to do, kind of viable.
Yeah.
Whether it's bike and hike and whatever, running.
Cause wherever there's snowmobile trails on the town land, the snowmobile club does maintain those trails
Right.
and keep them brushed and,
Yeah,
we don't know how many people use it as a walking trail, cause we're only on it in the wintertime, but,
that's kind of the thing, right? Snowmobile trails, people make that assumption that they're kind of like public trails, and they're really not. I mean, those are.
A lot of private trail.
A lot of
Right.
private land you're
Yeah.
going over,
It's
so you,
permission winter only.
Exactly, yeah. So it's an example of successfully connecting up a lot of different
yeah.
areas, but it's,
what about getting a list of all the private land with, versus non-private that the snowmobile club's using? And asking permission for walking only.
It's hard because the people that give the club permission, they know that nobody's gonna be out there in the wintertime. They really frown upon people walking around their
Yes.
land.
yeah.
But if it's not posted, you can go out and walk anyway.
Yeah, but
That's the biggest problem the snowmobile club has though with
That's
trail
not organized,
closures,
yeah.
is people get on these trails and the landowner gets upset and they shut us out.
And they've been gated, and they go around the gate saying, doesn't apply to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it creates a problem. One of the things is they have the state digital map now, snowmobiles. One of the things that was in discussion is that some of that data can be pulled by town, that can be made available to the conservation or the Parks and Rec as to what trails are available, and then, but they won't give you that information. You have to be requested, because a lot of it is private land. But, we have parts, with Plus State Park, that's open to public use. But then there's a lot of connecting trails to connect to that are not.
Right.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to connect everything into one loop like a road system because we keep crossing from private lands to public lands to private lands to public lands, and it makes the whole trail system, but it's on private lands.
What then would end up happening would be like you have up north in the ATVs where you go along the road, and then you pick this up, and you can ride through the trail, then you have to hop on the road, public road, to get to the next one, and that's the only way I think you could make that connect around here. You wouldn't be able to be on a trail to connect.
whole thing.
There's too many private.
Yeah.
That's
I-
exactly where I'm going.
Yeah.
I mean, think,
Look, I think we're way overdue for community forum to consider something like this, especially that potentially involves more than one town body to make something happen, but it would be nice to be able to say, hey, welcome to WEARE. Here are some things you can do as a new resident or a visitor. You're dropping in on your relatives for a month or tending to something. Where could I go for a loop hike? Where could I go if I want a trail bike, for half a day? Is there a way to do that, jumping between places? What would I see? Where could I get a view from a hilltop? Take the kids to picnic or things
That
like
is a
that.
huge undertaking.
It is.
It is, yeah.
It takes a whole committee just for that. We used to enjoy walking just around the fair and pond trails, and that's a closed loop thing, but it was nice, half hour, 1 hour walk. That's all you really need.
Well, that's, part of the misunderstanding is that some folks aren't aware still that there is such a thing.
Right.
And we're told, well, it's not, you don't have that. I'm like, what we do, and we even mention it on the website, but I think what Steve's alluding to is it takes more of a whole town investment in awareness, links between Parks and Rec and conservation where it's appropriate, to put a face forward and let even more people or more easily find out where these things can be done, what's appropriate where, and, from small scale to grand scale with lots of connections. I think would require a lot of effort, but to be successful would require a lot of buy-in from the town, or
Yeah.
do we, years ago, I guess, it's pushing on towards 20 years ago, 15 to 20, it was probably moderated by Southern New Hampshire Planning. The whole town forum was quite an endeavor to try to codify or report back on what the town's interested in. What are the town's priorities for planning, for future growth, for commercial activity, for, recreational activity, sports you roll all sorts of things in that become a community. And that's certainly much bigger than trails and much bigger than conservation, but it's, we're pushing towards something like that and trying to,
Yeah.
shake the bushes. Is there another body in town who has ideas that maybe we're not aware of?
You almost have to form something, well, like, I'll use the Snowmobile Club, for example. They're very involved in keeping the lands open and, the stewardship of the land when we go on private people's land and whatnot. You'd almost want to find out, there are avid hikers out there. And if those type of people were known and got all together, they could form a group that could open up trails slowly but surely in certain areas with our oversight. It's the only way to get it done, because you're not gonna get anybody else to come in and start the ball rolling. You have to have somebody very interested in having what we're talking about. And so, just talking about it won't make it happen, but finding the people that would like to have could make it happen by them forming a committee of their own, sort of like their own private club, but with our oversight, and that would make things a lot smoother. Because we could control what they do, we would know what they do, but they would be willing to do the actual work to benefit them for using it as a hiking system, and they could bring in ideas. And probably even private businesses, a lot of private businesses donate a lot of time and equipment to the ATV and the snowmobile clubs because it's a worthwhile event. And a lot of these trails are connected near restaurants, shops. That people can access that while they're on the trail. That's why it's successful up north, see? So, but it's a big deal. We could actually probably talk to some of the people that live up north to see how they got that ball rolling. And that would give us ideas of who to target.
So up north, the snowmobile trails, do the people that have private land that open it up to the snowmobilists, do they,
A lot of them open it up to ATVers also.
Right.
And a lot of that land up there is owned by logging companies, so they're not private landowners, they're private landowners, but they're big logging companies.
big logging
They own
companies, they don't
huge,
care if you got a four-wheeler up
Right.
there?
Well, they're not gonna be worried about somebody wandering through the backyard and
Right.
poking around something that shouldn't be poked around, sort of thing.
The Society of New Hampshire Forests has like 3 places around here. They have trails, and those are posted on their website, are they not?
Yeah. Yeah, I
I'm
believe
pretty sure
that.
there is.
Yeah, I believe there is.
Yeah, that would take somebody trying to get all the stuff together and get it in one place. I had somebody say something to me about, by the Barden property that we bought, is there gonna a place to park where they could go out and walk, and why isn't it posted a place to park? And
Right.
it all takes time and money.
Oh, and I wonder about that driving by, it's
Yeah.
like, all right, gonna be a sign there someday? Are we gonna try to maintain an area to?
It might be simple to do since there's already a driveway and a
Well,
building there, and once the building gets demolished, that
in
could be a
theory-
parking
In
area.
theory, yeah.
Yeah, so don't forget now, we went through this with Eastman, because it's a state highway, the sign regulations were
Yeah,
kind of
right.
significant.
That
That was kind of expensive.
Well, right, it didn't seem like a wise use of meager resources for signage, but,
We got a quote from, who actually paid for design,
yeah.
Was
we did that
Jutras
too.
or-
Sounds right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, along with what you're saying, Ray, I mean, kind of what I was thinking is we would ideally, like, we have a meeting and folks are interested, we would just do a warrant article for Southern New Hampshire to facilitate that. You know, so if we did have like a town, what'd you call it? when we had-
Forum.
Yeah, forum.
Some,
Like, have
somebody
them
hosted that, and
facilitate
it was pretty effective. It
Oh, that was UNH, the thing you're thinking of?
Could be, yeah.
Maybe we had a conservation forum too, or is just?
We followed it up, yeah, we
Yeah.
did. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, maybe more on that scale.
But I don't think we even have anything posted, because there is, I don't know how great that is. We have Fire and Pond, I know that's good. I just walked it this summer.
Yeah, it's on all
But-
trails too.
But you have Poor Farm. I don't know how great the trails are up there now, because I haven't been up there for a long time. And then you have that Hartington Everett Dam area where there's a bike trail that goes all the way through to Hennecker.
Well, there's all kinds, like, if you look on all trails, I mean, for instance, they're showing like all the class 6 roads up there by Farron, so I mean,
Yeah,
this is our problem. It's not like, to be successful with this thing, it's not just conservation land, it's class 6 roads. Some places you're gonna have to go on class 5 roads, some places you're gonna have to be on the edge of, you know, you're gonna have to ride down 77 or 114.
yeah, I've ridden all up through
You're not gonna be
there.
able to go
yeah.
through all the private land.
No.
You know, that's like Mark was saying. So I think that's where you need to get to is like, and the only thing, I don't know if we'll ever get there because of the expense, but like, you know, using kind of like the Swiss model, you know, I mean, they have like signs at intersections, you know, the roads count as
Roads this,
trails,
but
but
then
it'll
there's-
tell you like, you know, how many kilometers to wherever you're trying to go, and it'll point you there. So you never really lost, yeah. So I mean, you could get to that, or you could just do that all electronically. I mean, All Trails is pretty cool, and it has some of the stuff on there, but it doesn't really tell you what it all is. But, yeah, I think you guys, you know, everything everybody said's right on, so I just think if we shoot out an email to those groups and see if there's a agreeable time, but if we wanna do a warrant article this year, you know what I mean, when's the deadline on those?
It's usually around the end of the year.
Yeah, for funding one, right?
I think though, I don't think it's gonna be a good year for that with all the, people aren't gonna be voting in anything that they don't have to vote in with the price of fuel, heating oil.
Yeah,
you
I'd be
know,
thinking more of the lines of
Food.
volunteerism and business,
Business
stuff.
donations.
It won't work to corral it. I mean, this is big, you know, it's not,
Yeah, I
but
don't
it's
think,
peanuts. I mean, if you're talking, it'd be interesting, we'll have to, you know, if we wanna do that, ask Southern New Hampshire. And see if there's any grants too from the Trails Bureau too, you know, so till you look into it, you don't know what the cost is gonna be, but I don't think it's gonna be something with much of a tax impact. And hey, you know what, you throw it out there, if it gets rejected, we do what we said we're gonna do.
Yeah.
You know, like with the snowmobile, it takes a state association with tons of volunteers to try to get this stuff.
Yeah. It's expensive. We have, you know, we have some quotes that are going on 7, 8 years, 8, probably what, 7 years? When we did that plan?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But it,
Yeah.
I mean,
With
you know,
Sinuosity, yeah.
professional trail builders, you know, they use the mini excavators. And,
Yeah.
It's not cheap.
Where does the rail trail people get their funding from?
RTP,
Oh, yeah,
RTP.
which is your fuel tax money.
See, unfortunately, the train system that used to run through Ware has been abandoned so long that it's been overtaken by private people, and it would be very difficult to get that land back.
Not all of it.
not
The
all
one
of it.
running up through Eastman's,
The bog
Yeah.
there from North
I'm
Ware up
thinking
through.
more along River Road and
Well,
through
there's,
Sergeant
yeah.
Station.
Well, there was
Sergeant
a lot
Station
of-
Road is a road now.
yeah. Is
So
the one on
that's-
River Road private now?
A lot of
All
it got
chopped up?
taken over and chopped up, and,
Yeah.
yeah, there's houses on some of it, and, yeah, it'd be a
We
hard,
own some of it down there. along River
hard
Road.
one to reclaim.
Some of it's been sold, so it's chopped up.
Yeah.
It's funny how they didn't sell that other chunk up by Eastman, no, they still got that one.
Well, it's wet in there, so I don't think there's any building going on up
Yeah.
through there. That's all wet till you get up to almost the Annika line.
Real wet.
It's- Can't really,
Well, not
they
that
call
far,
it
but,
impassable.
yeah. The first,
See, Goffstown got $45,300 in 2019 from RTP.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they had the beautiful thing to already work with, so.
Yeah.
Friends of the Rail Trail.
Yeah, New Boston's got that going for it too.
Mhm.
yeah, they had a nice section, they could do
Yeah, they had
it.
a nice section.
And a lot of that stuff.
But you're only talking
north of
3 or 4
Concord, too.
miles.
Londonderry, that's it.
And actually, New Boston doesn't go all the way to Goffstown, it only goes to where Lang Station was.
Yeah.
But here's the thing we bumped into with the Eastman Forest, update. You know, we have the honor of having one of the first sections of rail line ever abandoned in the country. Was in Ware. In the, like, what'd they say, was it 1870s?
1938.
No,
after
the
the-
first time,
After the flood.
it was the first piece abandoned, and then it was, tried to reactivate it, the line over to Henniker. and
Oh,
then-
between North Ware and Henniker.
Right.
That got pulled out 7 years after it got put in.
Yeah, that was,
Really?
the unique distinction of being one of the first abandonments in North America.
Well, it was done because the guy that was in charge in Concord didn't want the trains going through to Henniker from that way. They wanted them to go through Concord
And up to
and around.
Kentucky.
He was
Makes more
getting, he was
sense,
getting
Yeah.
the money, yeah.
No, there's
Alright.
a lot of it left, just looking on the tax map. And this is, that thing, if that's right, the tax map where they got it in red, it's still, a lot of it's still there.
Before I forget, jumping back to land stewardship, should we make arrangements for mowing the field next to the cemetery on 77?
No, we usually do that a little later, but we can bring that up when it,
Well, I mean,
Do it in October, for sure.
we have to start the ball rolling, right?
Well, I think the guy,
If we want to, I mean.
I think the guy that's been mowing it's retired now, so he's probably got some time on his hands,
yeah.
I think.
I think $300 will do it, if you wanna.
Well, as long as it's a paying thing, I'm sure there's plenty of people we know with brush mowers that would be willing to go and do that.
Yeah, he's right down the street there. Gary Wilson.
The guy with the cows.
No,
No, I got with the old Granite State telephone truck on the
Oh.
right, on the,
on
when you got,
Summerwoods.
what's that road there?
Yeah.
Center Road.
Oh, do you wanna tackle that one, or save it for next month?
No, I mean, go ahead. I'm just doing a motion, $300 out of conservation to pay for mowing on the Eastman Field.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Sound like all in favor?
Let's just call Gary.
Would you please? All right, so the start of the trails discussion was an action item for yours truly. Anything else from that? We want to keep that on the agenda for next month to report back on any response?
Doesn't do any harm.
Yeah, let's see if there's a mutually agreeable,
And Jeremy will be here too, we can talk to the smaller pieces of turn logging roads into smaller trails as well.
Trails, yeah, because he seemed to be,
And that's a great idea for small, just,
Yeah.
small trails, it's,
yeah, sure, he said,
Easy-
do a,
easy thing to pick
half
up.
mile to a mile loop.
Yep.
And then next time you're going in, you do another loop onto that one.
That's all people really like. I mean, my wife likes to walk in the, near the Everett Dam. They just like doing little loops,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, that's another one, see, you go across Everett Dam and you go down and that, you can walk along that old roadway there,
Yeah, it's a nice walk.
yeah.
You know, we've been on a lot of walks with land that has no outlets to anything else. You walk in and you walk back out, but it's a walk,
Yeah,
you know? and
Actually, a fair bit of that's on the old rail bed.
railroad bed,
Yeah.
yeah,
Down right on
yeah.
in Clough there, yeah. All right, moving on to budget status.
You guys got an email from Beth this afternoon?
yep.
I didn't see it because I wasn't home, but
You have some bills to pay, I think.
Yeah.
Looking at our budget, we've paid our dues to the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions and charged nothing else to our budget. So that, now looking at Conservation Fund. Transferred out a big chunk in January for land purchases. Had some receipts from general fund for lots presumably sold in April, May, and June. Looking like,
Those are current use penalties, aren't they?
yep, that's what I think they are, yes.
Yeah, I just billed several more, so.
Looking like we got a balance there of just a few thousand, about 200,000.
Restrooms.
Yeah, either end of the building, where you came in, you just go downstairs as handicap, or at that end, you just go down one of the stairs, they both close.
Town forest account. Looks like the land purchase payments were in February. Had some receipts in May and July. With a balance of about 37,000 currently. We're holding about 455 in the John Champy Fund.
$455.
Yes. That's a sort of wide open allotment on that one. And the Heritage Commission and Agricultural Commission, a few dollars. I don't know, it just shows up, doesn't mean much or anything. Any thoughts, considerations, concerns on those numbers? All right, then let's go ahead and move on to wetland-related issues.
No, you
Did
guys
you wanna
will
get payment on those invoices?
Did you want
What
the
do you- oh, the
invoices from
invoices.
Naomi? I can bring them to you.
And you printed them for you, so if you can sign and give them back. They're in the email, so.
Thank you. All right, looks like we have an April invoice, a May invoice, and a July invoice. April 1, Eastman Forest Timber Harvest Prep.
You know, I thought I talked to Jeremy about this. This kind of ticks me off when they're charging, because the FSA is a proposal, you know, for us to authorize. And this is that discussion about cutting them off at the end of the fiscal year unless they're encumbered. So they're charging us, you know, $37 to do that edit. That's kind of BS.
Yeah, half hour to fuss with the invoices because we couldn't pay them as presented.
No, it's not the invoices. That's the forestry services account. So that's a.
Oh, right, on
that's
the editing the agreement.
Yeah, that's just a work proposal. You can pay it if you want, but I'm not real excited about it.
You've already communicated that back to our contractor?
I don't know, I thought we had a discussion on that, but I can't really quite remember if that's specifically the one or not.
You did have the discussion about changing that we did not pay it till he changed it, because the way it was written.
Written, right.
Right, but what I'm saying is,
They
Charge you to edit it.
They're charging you to edit that. That's
Yeah.
a 2-second job to go in there and edit that.
yeah, not even that, it's like, you know, like Mark, you given me a estimate to fix
Yep.
my car. Or, you know, a work
Yep.
proposal, and then I accept it or not, you know, it's like charging us to,
Do it twice.
yeah, to
Yeah.
do the estimate. I
Yeah.
mean, no, I mean, to say, hey, I wanna sell you guys this.
Right.
That's what I think is not cool. I mean, it was, because you know, we told them, look, we gotta cut these things off at the
Yep.
end of the fiscal year. They're charging us $37 for it.
That's a discussion with them then.
Yeah, should be. Wanna just hold that one and just tell them, hey, because I thought we did have that discussion.
Yeah, and interesting, the other aspect of that was 4 hours back, to communicate with DOT about whether we could put a driveway in to the easement from 114.
That's the April invoice you're talking about there?
Yeah, invoice 4-15-22FF. So anyways, it's a reminder, we ask for things, there's gonna be a charge, so,
Well, there shouldn't have been for that.
yeah.
That's just,
And the state knows very quickly. I don't think it takes them 4 hours to figure out whether they can put a roadway in or not. Those guys do it
Well,
every,
he gets the application, questions back and forth, and some research.
Hmm.
It's not a 4-hour conversation.
well, they attached to FSA from 2020.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
understand that.
I think it's for the Eastman Harvest is what's going on.
Well, the,
No, Eastman Forest Management Plan. No, it's not.
Here, Andy, I printed that out.
thank you.
I didn't understand that. Because parts of it have been paid.
That's got nothing to do with that one. Does it have to do with any of them?
I don't think so. There was boundary maintenance and deed
Boundary.
research.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why that's attached to it.
Yeah, this one from 7/31/22. 2022-003FF.
Yeah, no, that's nothing. That's just the hourly.
Yeah.
Just the other one.
Deed
That's the boundary
research.
line project that we authorized, so that's fine. Extra deed research, boundary line project. Not really sure what that's for. Yeah, we already authorized that.
You see that at the bottom, Andy?
invoice 12/7/21/92.
$12,721 invoice on 7/11/22.
Yeah.
That's what
Well-
it came in the package.
Oh, okay, those are, MTL's notes. Or whoever.
Didn't they figure we already paid them for
MCT.
something? Something got screwed up there too. But that's,
Well,
that
this-
invoice not there.
This one is 002. So,
It's 2020 though, isn't it?
right, we had 2020-001, 002, 003 for separate forestry agreements, FSAs.
All right, so on this one right here, this is because we'd already inquired, and I don't. Let's see. I'd asked which property was this for. We'll push it through. Then Jeremy asked Matthias, "Can you help with the details here?" Guessing it's Eastman. And then Matthias said, "This was extra hourly work to conduct deed research on Hardwick and County lot, plus $16.40 for deed and plan download. I assumed it was generally hourly." I think you screwed that, but maybe it is included in the boundary FSA for these lots. So I don't know that we ever really came to a conclusion. So I'm just gonna hold this one and just ask him, was it supposed to be part of the boundary or not? I mean, the FSA for the boundary work.
Yeah, so you ask your questions on these,
Yeah, let me,
and we'll hold those two and get them paid on this one.
What was the second one there? Is that the 5/15/22 or the 2022-003?
5/15/22.
All right, you got those, we got appropriate notes on what we're doing here?
Yeah, I mean, one of them there.
So we're paying, signing off on invoice 2022-003 FF tonight. Asking questions on
Yeah, let's see.
invoices 4-15-22 FF and 5-15-22 FF prior to signing off on payment.
All right, so I'll try to CC in the conservation on where, actually, that'll probably just screw up like it usually does. All right, we get this Eastman one.
All right, so okay, to pass us on along on boundary work.
Yeah, we're good there. So this is on the hourly. Why would a timber harvest?
Back to Alan, please. In the past, Naomi, I've attached to that commentary, that approval, dates on meeting minutes. Is that something I should work back to? To
Say
say,
that one more time?
in times past, on approving invoices, I've included the date of the conservation meeting where we approved it, in this case, approved a FSA.
So we need to go back and find that date?
Question is, do we? Or is that just extra level of info that's not really requisite? Because we have the reference
No,
to the,
as long as you have the executed FSAs, I don't think you have to put the date that you did it.
that's where I went with it.
As long
I've just,
as that has it to match, it doesn't.
yeah. So she does on these, which is good. Or on that one. And the other two have a total of roughly $500, so I do not think we will be sinking the company if we hold off payment until we have answers on those.
Do you understand what that one is?
I think at the bottom that that's just a note, I don't think they didn't get any official invoice for that.
Because it came with those
It
other.
did, right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, this was updating the Eastman plan, which they already did, we've accepted, we paid. And the Felch Farm plan also have an update. Did we met them on the Felch Farm update. Have we updated that plan?
Which one?
Did we accept the updates on both the Eastman and the Felch Farm forest management plans?
Eastman's done. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I think Felch, we got it
both of them, yeah.
finalized.
So that's why,
But did we get billed for them? Or, remember there was some confusion about what we paid for, didn't?
yeah, we paid on August 11th. Check number 67288. An invoice for 12,000. Out of a total on the FSA of some roughly 16,000. So I'm gonna just put this in the sort of thank you for payment received, acknowledged, all set.
Okay,
That's the best, I don't think it's suggesting we owe anything more on it.
okay.
All right,
Let me just read this one that
Sure.
I just drafted. Good, so, hi Jared, I think we had a discussion about not being appropriate to charge for modifying a FSA as it is a proposal to authorize work. Also wondering about the genesis of the charge for the driveway permit for Eastman. Is there a FSA for the harvest at Eastman? I don't think members are sold on new access, not sure how we got on this track. Thanks, Steve.
yeah.
I don't know if Matthias just got rolling on something, although, I just don't, it seems pretty fuzzy to me how we got going on that.
Not invoicing for,
Yeah, I just don't remember in any of the public discussions or anything about pounding a new access road in from 114.
Anytime we ever talked about it, we always agreed that it was probably not feasible to go in that way.
Right.
Yeah,
There was very little discussion about that.
I don't remember any, but,
yeah, it's a little squishy, but we're certainly aware that, I think we probably, and I don't know the form for this, was it at one of our meetings, we said, well, we don't even know whether we'd be able to get a driveway permit in
Exactly.
there, and then we were told there sometime after, oh yeah, we checked and we can.
We didn't request that.
But we
no.
didn't request,
No.
make it specific, hey, would you do this work and what will it take? You know, we'll cover it in the hourly up to, which we typically would.
Hmm.
Or it would be incorporated into the compensation through the harvest. I think maybe that's what they were thinking, now they're getting the sense that we maybe aren't doing that harvest, so it was all just, bill it out, because we need to be.
No, this bill's old, we just,
Yeah, it is an old one, you're right.
yeah. I don't know what happened there.
So we're not gonna do a harvest in Eastman now?
No, this is
It's
just
a-
the access issue.
Access.
It's a discussion that has not resulted in a decision.
And it's not on the agenda, so we're not supposed to.
We're
Supposed to talk about it.
There will be no decisions on that tonight.
All right.
It's a mention without
Yeah, Andy, how about the 2022-003 FF boundary maintenance invoice?
yes, we were prior approved on that, and I signed off on
That was what you were talking
Yeah.
the
to.
$4,740 to
Yep.
complete that work.
And that's completed, sir. All the boundaries are done.
No, that's the one that we authorized.
Yeah.
So they're working on it, but that's the,
I thought done.
I just had to put a check mark next to my notes that.
they wanted, yeah, they wanted to talk about it tonight as well, so I don't know what's going on with it, but, yeah, talk about it next meeting. It's underway.
Okay.
Okay.
I thought that was this was the finish of, isn't this the end of getting that boundary done
I thought
this
that's
year?
what I read on the invoice.
Yeah, that was the end of it.
Okay.
Because last year, it was
We authorized
to
portion
continue.
of it out of,
Yes.
paid for it last year, there was more to pay for this
Yes.
year, and that was a whole carryover question.
Yes, that's exactly what it
So we
was.
had to
Yeah, okay.
Issue the
yeah.
FSA, and this was supposed to be the end.
Yep,
They would finish it this year.
that's what it looked like.
Yeah.
okay, so that's what it is.
But unfortunately, we're hindered because we don't have the other side on.
All right.
Yeah.
Commentary without decision.
Hard to keep it all straight.
All right, so budget status, is that something we don't need to talk about next month? It can fall off the agenda?
You should keep that on there.
Well, just keep everything.
It all on.
I see where we're going, okay. Keep the budget something we can talk about. All right, wetland-related issues. Anybody want to jump on that one, discussion-wise?
I mean, it came up, I just didn't know where we were at. I was just kinda fuzzy on, it was, the one with Tom Carr. And did the Board of Selectmen end up going out there, Sherry, or someone?
Did the what?
You remember the one that Tom Carr did the restoration plan for? I thought we were just kinda done with it, but then there was, seems like it ended up being kind of a big deal. Wasn't it out near
Was that Lakeview you're talking about?
was it Lakeville?
Yeah, there were minutes about that, and there was some problems with that.
Listen, I don't think they've all been resolved.
Yes, I just didn't know where, so is that all, yeah, so that's the one Tom was in here on.
Yeah, the site walk with the minutes.
Yeah, so who had the site walk?
Planning board.
Okay,
And the selectmen.
all right, yeah,
Yeah, actually.
Did anything come of it?
They did a cease and desist, it says, recommends.
what, Mark, what's the date on the email, or,
August 12th.
I was gonna say around the middle of August.
Is there a decision point on that for us?
I don't know, that's what I was kinda curious about, cause I thought we were kinda done with it, but then it seems like it,
Well, that's the Hickey, isn't it?
Yeah, it's,
Which we just put off till next meeting.
next meeting, we can't discuss it,
which one?
Hickey,
right?
the plans we had, look, that was one of them.
one of the plans.
Wetlands issue, that was on the agenda.
Yeah.
So, can discuss it. I think.
I don't think we didn't have the seal and something else. I thought there was a couple of things you were gonna wait till next month.
Oh, so that's, yeah, I'm really confused on who's what.
Minutes of this are going to be forwarded to the Land Use Department and the Conservation Commission.
So 424 Reservoir Drive, that's one of the ones, those plans that we just punted on?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Aha. So that's a subdivision plan there, but we've also got a wetlands restoration plan that was,
There was a problem with
Presented.
wetland up there
but there was an impact to the
On Lakeview,
wetlands.
isn't
on
there?
Lakeview.
Is that this one?
No,
Oh, that's what I'm saying, the Lakeview one.
yeah.
So what happened with that? Is that a dead issue now, or is that still,
That's up in the air, I think, from what I understand.
was anyone taking action on that, or did we,
Are you talking the August 1st email?
is it August 1st? Hang on.
Yeah, because Tony got in touch with you.
Yeah, uh-huh,
Okay, about potential wetland damage. You wanted to have a site walk, like on the 5th, because you weren't gonna be at the next meeting.
right,
And then you explained, then you replied to everybody and said you discussed the violation with Tom.
yep,
He was the landowner scientist, wetland scientist. He confirmed the buffer was impacted. The landowner is authorized
Yeah.
to develop a restoration plan
yep,
to include tree planting in the buffer. This would be consistent with past buffer violation restoration.
So-
Tom will email a plan based on the discussion. You didn't think a sidewalk was needed.
right, so that was, yeah, that's what we needed, so did Tom come in here, though? I'm trying to
None
think.
of that.
No.
Okay, so
Not
we
on
have,
that.
all right, so we've got,
Which sounds like it's tumbling down the road a little bit.
Yeah.
so Tom drew up,
I don't know that we've seen that restoration plan from Tom.
So on August
No, we haven't
2nd,
seen it.
on August 2nd,
Yeah.
you guys received a plan from him
We
Yeah.
did.
yes,
to resolve the buffer disturbance for view at your August meeting, which you never had.
right, right,
So you didn't have it tonight either.
yeah, because I
So
told
do
we
we
can't
need to throw that
concur.
on the agenda for next time or not?
I think that's.
It's already
the-
there.
I think that's the right thing to do, but.
Yeah.
But do we need to reframe it from anything that was already on this agenda subdivision
Did
wise?
you guys find the plans, cause they were all sent to you via just email?
Yeah, they're here. August 2nd, I got it.
Yeah, you got it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I was trying to say with the wetland-related issues, I knew there was that, and then the other
You
one,
guys were gonna talk about it and review it at August, and then August didn't happen.
right.
Steve, what happened to that other guy that was supposed to come? There was another guy.
On
that
the
was
permit, right?
August. There was a wetland or a.
No, so, yeah, so we went back, DES said they went ahead and,
Okay,
issued, it was,
Steve somebody,
shit.
New Hampshire National Forest?
He's a forester
Yeah.
for the state. Anyhow, so there must be a time frame associated with it that we get to review it. That DES went ahead and issued the permit. We're all set. We don't have to do anything. It was long and short of that.
So the intent was for you guys to look at the disturbance at your August meeting.
Right. And we didn't meet in
Never
August.
happened Because I wasn't able to post the agenda in time.
Right. So,
And just like today, a mistake was made, but it's my understanding that you probably should do it for October.
so we've got, yeah, and that's what I was trying to say on that list, wetland-related issues. So, I mean, we can, without making any decisions, just say, all right, I think your synopsis of what happened is totally accurate. Because first, we had the question of was there an impact? And then I think Tom saying, yes, there was an impact, totally negated, us needing to go on a fact
You
finding.
guys had a conversation, you and him.
Yeah, and then
he was gonna forward you the plan, which he did the next day.
he did, yeah,
Then you forwarded it to everybody else.
Yep.
Cause it came from you
And that's where we're at.
Okay,
And that's what you
that's
want.
why I can't
That's-
find it.
Yeah, so that's where we're at. I mean, we've got a restoration plan, which I guess, you know, weren't specific in the agenda. But anyhow, so we've got this plan that I'm just not even sure, like, as a town, how we deal with this. I mean, discuss it, say if we, you know, are supportive of it or not.
There's been an impact.
Yep.
He's got the proper people to do a restoration plan.
Mhm.
We just need to approve the restoration plan?
I haven't heard the town's even taken action against them for the, yeah, I mean, you know, we should probably push it, but based on in the past, I mean, so we actually put this on the agenda specific to the actual name of the the property owners, but, this idea here would be very similar to something that happened
Excuse
many
me,
years
there is a
ago.
message.
Yeah. So, I think it's something to be, consider and say if we're happy with or not, but I guess we've gotta post it, specifically.
Excuse me, there is a
I
message
think,
for you.
I think it's the right thing to do.
Yep, great,
To list it, it's publicly noticed, nobody can say they didn't.
yep. Agreed, so I think we, and I'm sorry for, I'm brain dead on trying to figure out, I knew we had a couple issues, but
It's
just
overwhelming.
coming off vacation and still being there.
I can tell you're not gonna be here in October. We'll get there later.
Yeah, so,
October 12th, and we'll spell it all out.
yeah, so just post that one. Right,
Richard Ureskin was on that from the New Hampshire DES. They were looking for a permit and our comments on it.
But that's the one that was upset, Steve. He's the guy from the DES one that
Yeah.
you said. Because remember, we canceled the meeting and you had somebody coming and then DES took over.
yeah, he's a forester for the state, yeah. That's, why am I losing my mind?
Wasn't it on a prime wetlands question?
Yes.
Yes. Mhm. That is, Sam, yeah, Sam Taylor.
Sam, oh my.
Yeah, 'cause Sam was like bummed out that we, the meeting was canceled, but it ended up not really affecting them, 'cause the DES just went ahead. And it's, I'm not sure specifically, but they've got like a public lands team and stuff that reviews this, so it's not like something we would typically be real concerned with. It's for habitat. So that captures the crux of what I was trying to get at, for the wetland-related issues.
So, October 12th. So, for that agenda, there will be a separate item call out to be clear that it's
Yeah,
a point of
it's-
discussion for
yeah.
Conservation
Yeah.
Commission.
That's the easiest, safest way of doing it.
And do you have some notes to that effect helping us with the agenda?
It's what?
And do you have notes for yourself to that effect helping us with the next agenda? Or is that, is that the
I'm fine.
straw that broke the camel's
No,
back?
no, I found the email and I re-forwarded, so it'd be at the top of my email versus 600 down below.
Right.
is what
Okay.
happens.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Does that do it?
Do you need,
Hmm.
I'll ask, do you want do you want a copy? Because it's color for your night meeting.
Hmm.
Printout,
Do you want the 11 by 17s or you want the big one? I'm not gonna make 6 big ones.
Yeah.
This is costly.
Having one
Yeah.
full size would be helpful, don't need those 6.
I don't mind 2, cause I'll tell you why, cause it scratches along the speaker. If you put one at this end and one at that end, you guys can share.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll just bring my magnifying glass and look at a little one.
No, if I do the big ones, it's okay.
Maybe binoculars. while you're at it.
Binoculars, microscope, go even smaller.
All right,
All right. That does it.
make a
Motion to
motion.
adjourn,
Second?
Second.
third and fourth and fifth.
You gonna buck up on it? All right, I think, I'll call the, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The motion to adjourn will be Sherry's, and I'll give Mark the second to do the tie, ladies first. That being said, we adjourn. All in favor at 9:03?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Gotta hit the